We're also seeing quite significant growth off what's traditionally been a 1% mode share in New Zealand, very low by international standards, and we see that rising rapidly. So I think while it's an issue for this year, I think we're well on the way to sorting it for future years.
Mr. Mayor, David will take the third question. Just before he does, I'd just like to stress that what we're looking for and wanting to be part of is what I would call a real sense of urgency. It's actually quite easy to get a false sense of urgency, which is more task forces, more reviews, and it creates a sense of stuff happening, but it is actually just really another form of complacency. So I think really if we could work collectively on what a focused, real sense of urgency is, that's really critical because we need that momentum. David will address the airport issue.
So there's probably three things about the airport, Mr. Chairman, through you. The first is I think we all need to remember that the airport is their own road controlling authority over their 450 to 500 hectares in that area. So all congestion within the airport precinct per se is actually entirely under their control. We have no jurisdiction over it, neither does NZTA. Secondly, we have been and are in regular dialogue with the airport. There's been meetings last week and there's more meetings today in a tripartite way to try and fix the airport solution, which will require them to make some changes, plus ourselves and particularly NZTA, because they control all the feeder roads to the airport, both north and southeast. Thirdly, we have identified the need for rapid mass transit in the isthmus into the airport. We've been discussing this for about 3 years with funding agencies in terms of where it sits, and it's been in our reports for some time now to this council. So you're aware that we think this is a major issue, not simply for the airport, but also with respect to placemaking in the isthmus between here and the airport, and the decongesting of the city in terms of some of the major bus routes, e.g. Simon Street, that are becoming problematic. So like all of these things, it's actually an integrated solution. The challenge, frankly, is again back to your ATAP question. It's a dollar sum that has to be managed in a responsible way, and we're very cognizant of that and the implications to the ratepayer and the nation, remembering we've got to match that whole thing up, and the numbers are big. Last thing I would say to back up Lisa's comments, nowhere in the world have they actually built their way out of congestion by building more roads. Even the LAs of this world are looking at alternate ways of congestion management, variable charging on roads, public transport, and a mix of things. So we actually need a much more integrated solution, because there is no one silver bullet, and we need an integrated approach, which is slightly more complicated, but is the only way to do it.
And just last word on the airport, we need realistically an interim, temporary, incomplete, imperfect solution before we can get the, we can't do nothing until we wait, and we're really going to require the support and integration of agencies like NZTA and the airport to do that. I think we did hear this morning at our board meeting, one of our board members said, one of her colleagues says, the best thing to do is catch the rail to Papatoe and then catch the bus to the airport, and by the way, with simpler fares, that transfer will cost you no extra money.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add to the Mayor's question? ATAP was very clearly at Treasury's request and MOT. Those are not approved projects by time frame. They're purely indicative to show what it would look like. That's right. And the identification in decade is actually the deliverable time, not the conceiving, consenting, funding and construction period. So if there is a major project to be delivered in the second decade and it takes 7 years to build, you're going to have to start it now.
We'd better get on with the conception right away.
Yes.
Okay, so we've actually used the allocation of time, but I have 5 more people, so we're going to let this one go on a bit, because obviously we'll Transport's important. We have councillors Quacks, Casey, Cooper, Darby and Lee, Mike Lee, so that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and look, I'm enjoying your pragmatic approach this morning to the issues that we're facing. So I just want to say that first off, and I also want to thank you in regards to your engagement with the stakeholders for the Amity project. You know, we got off to a bit of a rocky start some time ago, but we're very pleased with the way that's going. What that's showing up, though, is that there are some problems with the Amity project that is of concern to both myself and Councillor Stewart and the local board chair and also our local MPs. And that is the reduction of lanes for private traffic on Pakuranga Road and also on Lagoon Drive. Lagoon Drive is going from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes. Now, you know, on Sunday night, there's a lot of construction going on, as you're well aware, and the contractors are doing a fantastic job in traffic management around that area, around Pakuranga Road and Glenmore Road. So I'm very pleased with that. But on Sunday night at 10 o'clock, there were some lanes closed on Pakuranga Road, and it was chaos at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. And now we're looking in the future with more development in the area. We're looking at a similar situation when we close lanes, during the course of construction, but then as a permanent solution to the traffic issues in those areas. So I want to see from Auckland Transport where in the world, in a city similar to Auckland, that removing lanes of traffic, 50% of the lanes of traffic, actually reduces congestion. Now, you don't have to give me the answer now because I don't need the answer right now, but I do need you to inform Councillor Stewart, myself, the local MPs and the local chair, where in the world you can reduce traffic congestion by taking away 2 lanes or 50% of the lanes of traffic. So that's your task that I'd like to give you.
And thank you, Councillor Quacks, because he doesn't require an answer now, so you don't need to answer.
No, they don't have to answer now.
But we will follow up
Yep, thank
and
you.
make a presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Casey.
Oh, it's a question for Lester. Lester, it's been a few years since we had the berm debate. And during that debate, you promised a set of guidelines for berm planting, and it's been a few years. Can you tell me when we might see them? I've got another question after that.
Yeah, the BERB guidelines are out. They're being consulted on with a range of local boards and local interest groups. So that's being progressed. We can give you an update on that.
Okay, when would that be? Before Christmas?
If you'd like it before Christmas, then we'll get a response back.
Thank you. And my other one relates to your road corridor maintenance and town centres. One of the areas of tension between local boards and Auckland Transport is your use of glyphosate. So since I haven't seen your berm guidelines, I don't know how you are aligning your use of sprays with planting in the berms. And can you tell me if there's do you have any mood to reduce the sprays given public concern?
Our spray program is in line with the council's use of sprays, and we work entirely in conjunction with them, so we've got a joined up position on that. And if there's a need to move, we will move with council.
So we have done extensive research on this whole matter, and we provided all of that to council. If there's to be a change of the weed management plan, we would respond to that. Also, just to clarify, all the weed management is based on the legacy arrangements, so it is different in the different areas. We haven't altered that. So really, we just wait and see whether council wishes to change the weed management policy, and we would move with that. I guess any significant change in weed management policy would require alterations in budget allocation.
So in the berm guidelines, you've got different rules for different bits of this of the region. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Correct.
So there is, by request, for example, the Waitakaris have a different set of guidelines and how they want their vegetation managed to a new lin or whatever. So it's really trying to look at the appropriateness for the city centre or the regional area or the requirements. So there are variations. Rural roads require a different requirement to city streets.
Thank you. Can I just remind councillors, it's good questions, Councillor Casey, but remember the CCOs under the new regime are reporting to 3 committees, so questions about glyphosate should be to Councillor Holsell's committee, or, so this is the Finance Committee. So finance questions, please. Councillor Cooper.
Well, excuse me, Mr Chairman, I think my question would be there should be a performance measure about customer satisfaction with road corridor maintenance.
There is
That
a
would
cross,
then-
there is a crossover. I agree.
There isn't, but there isn't one. So how would I get that into? I suppose that's the next question.
Yeah.
Help me out someone.
Silence.
Councillor Lester.
Well, the new-
We're happy to look into that.
it will be in your new letters of expectation, item 21.
In
So,
the
no, I'm
statement-
talking
in the
about
statement
a
of intent,
performance
the
measure.
statement of intent.
Okay.
It's
Statement.
not one at present. I'm saying, how do we get that in?
In
'Cause
the
that's
statement
one
of
that would
intent.
be-
In the statement of
Mr.
intent.
Given that we've got
Chairman.
planting guidelines about to be implemented.
I'm moving on to Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. And, you know, given that you probably have one of the most important jobs in this region, trying to sort out our transport, I acknowledge you for all the work you do, and I know that we give you a very hard time most of the time, both at the round table and individually, but I do appreciate the effort that's put in and the really high-level thought, Lester and David and team. I've got a couple of things, if you'll bear with me. One is around the customer experience, and I'm speaking particularly to the safety on the trains, and we know we've just had a disgusting incident of youth, you know, pelting trains with stones and stopping it, and also I know that in Gleneden, Councillor Hulse and I hear over and over about youths being shaken down, just, you know, 12-year-olds getting off the train, being standover tactics, beaten up just for small change or their phone, etc., etc. So I guess one of the things I see, the ticketing, we're not doing that at Gleneden, and Gleneden is a major safety issue. We need to keep people off the platforms who are not meant to be there. But what I want to ask you around that is, when are we going to get police on trains? Because we know that wardens have no authority, security guards have no authority, our conductors, and they have to stand by and basically watch this stuff happening. So how is that progressing, please?
Okay, so we'll give you an update. So we've been working on this program for quite some time, complex program, but David will give you an update because we are pretty close now.
So we're working with the police. We've got a program to start introduction with them in the middle of next year, which is part of the new budget program and the new rail operating contract that's coming through. So that program's in place. At the same time, you'll recall that there's an amendment going through on the Land Transport Act, and that will actually, assuming that it goes through, give us the ability legislatively to exercise some control. As of now, we have no authority at all. So there's a series of things that are being done in parallel to enable us to do that. In terms of gating and security, we have a program in place to do a tranche of gating now, and that's simply a budget and prioritisation point of view. So the stations of greatest concern are being gated first, and we will work our way through over time. And we're very much aware that it's important from a safety and security point of view. It's a top priority for us.
Thank you. And I guess a lot more people will want to use public transport if they know they are not going to be attacked.
I think we need to
Yep.
be quite clear as well, though. A jurisdiction can't go beyond, if you like, the bus or the rail corridor.
Absolutely.
We don't have mandate to sort of act as police down the streets and everywhere.
Of course not, but I think the station area is where these things are happening. So, and the other question is just around the Northwest, and I mean, I'm going to be parochial because Northwest will take 25% of our growth, and so there's a huge amount, but we have the least amount of options around travel, as you know, and so I understand that under the ATAP there has been an agreement for the government to NZTA to join in on North Western Busway, but I just appeal that really, you know, one accident this morning took me an hour and a half to get in, where it normally take maybe 45. So there aren't enough choices yet for people there, and where houses are being signed off, you know, many houses every day in that whole area, and we've got some more growth areas coming on as well. So I also want to know in terms of the train option, because if we can have a busway, the train going to Kumu and a good motorway, we've got some options there. So can we just have a bit of an update around options for the train and maybe an express service? Doesn't have to stop at every station, but mindful that people in Kumu, Riverhead may often work at the hospital, Henderson, places like that. They don't need to go all the way into town, but it will help to reduce the use of the motorway, especially when the motorway is going to fill up with people from the North Shore when the tunnels are open.
So 3 answers to that. One is there is work being done with NZTA to accelerate the Northwestern Busway and to upgrade parts of State Highway 16 and 18 that NZTA are doing.